So today I think I want to talk about proper training and good training, correct training, and it's much more than we all think. I'm still learning on how to and what it is, and as I teach and choreograph and work with my artists and performers, it's an ongoing process for me. Good training, yes, it's all the things we think of, but it's also communication with the artists, the dancers, the performers, the students. Each student comes in with a different body, they come in with different possibilities, and it's how we communicate to that student what we want them to execute. We all know in dance, and ballet especially, plie is a plie, the knees bend over the toes, but how do we make that individual student understand which muscles to work, how to do it properly, how to do it correctly, so that it helps them in their movement and it's injury preventive. And that's what's interesting for me when I teach, because again, each person has a different body, different personality, and students come in from school, they come in from their day, everyone's got different things going on, as we as teachers do as well, choreographers and coaches. It's exciting. I like it. I think it's wonderful what we do. It's important. It's also important to make the dancer understand that they have choices. And what we want to do is teach them that technique, that vocabulary, so that they, in the long run, have artistic choices. It's important to body placement, correct body placement, finding it for each individual dancer. How we communicate to the performers, the artists, the dancers, the students is extremely important. I worked with this insane man who I had such respect for, Elliot Feld. And the thing that I came out of the short period that I had worked with him was how wonderful he was at communicating his point of view to each different person. So what he would say to me is completely something else than what he would say to someone else to get that same movement, or to get that same point across. And I found that really, really interesting, and it's something I think about still today when I'm teaching especially or choreographing. How do I get the whole class to work together, to move together, but keep individuals' integrity and keep them working on their own potential. Same thing when you choreograph, working with different dancers, but making sure that the ensemble and the final product is what we want, so it's not a mismatch of different things, unless that's a choice. This is a vocabulary, and like any vocabulary, the more you know, the better you are to express yourself. Same thing with dance. So the more you understand your body, the better you are at executing your movement. The line, the jump, the stretch, the balance. How do you teach a student to balance? Each one's going to be different. They need to feel. And it's so many times, especially students, they get caught up on what it looks like, and absolutely that is important, because the aesthetic of dance is all lines, and lines need to look a certain way. Movement has a certain look, just like artwork. Anything with art, it's visual. More important for me is how they feel when it's correct in that position. So if somebody's doing a passe balance and I see that the placement is correct, what are they feeling? It's one thing that I always ask my dancer. What are you feeling in that? That's what you have to remember, so that the body can replicate. You can go back and repeat that movement. If you're in arabesque balance, right, it's usually a very free and light feeling. You're not held and tight. There's a sense of growth. There's a sense of expansion. So I always remind my dancers, my students, my people I work with, remember that feeling so that you can go back to that. That's what I loved about dance, and that's what I try to promote to my artists, to my people I work with, is that to find that love and to find that excitement. For me, that was what was exciting about dancing, was always discovering, and every day was something different because you're a different person every day. What you felt yesterday and what you're going to feel today is two different things. It depends on what you ate, what you drank, if you slept, whatever it is. That challenge was always very, very exciting for me. Going back to how this is a language. It's a language. The more languages you know, the more you can express yourself. Same thing in dances. The more styles, the more you understand movement, the more choices you have for expression. In the long run, when you're performing, those are the choices. That's what you have to work with. Somebody will give you choreography. You do those steps. But what's important is how you interpret them. I'm interested personally how, especially with principal dancers or people that have solos, a group of dancers, a core of dancers, you want them to be pretty consistent and pretty much the same because they're moving as one body, one voice. But with each individual, if they're doing a solo, if they're doing a pas de deux, if they're doing anything that has individual, if they're characters, like in our Dracula, there's so many different personalities in there. I want them to find that character within the movement. So the movement becomes part of their acting. And again, when you're free, when you understand technique, when you have the freedom of that vocabulary, then you can concentrate on the creative, on the artistic, and allow the technique to support it and build your movement. That for me is exciting. Going back to the thing about how this is a language and the more you have, the more you're able to express. I really encourage performers, especially today, dancers, even actors and singers, to see all the possibilities. I'm in the dance world. I was a ballet dancer and I teach ballet and I have my ballet students, but I encourage them to do other styles, to do the modern, to do the hip hop, to do the tap, to do the theater dance. Not everyone's going to be a principal dancer in a ballet company, but today there are so many possibilities of having wonderful dance jobs if that's what you want to do. There's from Cirque du Soleil to movies to commercials to industrials to so many possibilities, which is really exciting. Broadway. So I encourage all the dancers to do many different styles, again, so that they have more to work with. Choreographers today come in and they want you to do many different things. So it's important to understand how your body moves and what your possibilities or your limitations. Knowing your limitations is also important in the art, because then you work on those, or you choose not to, and you can easily say, I can't do that, so you're comfortable someone else doing that if you cannot. So it's never a struggle. We want to be free as artists. We want to be self-expressed, and so it's important to know what you can do, what you can't, and keep working and keep learning. It's a learning process till the end. From teachers to the first year student, from choreographers to the last performance. Thank you, Angela Robinson and Yellowtail Creative, for taking the time to come and talk to me. Well, thanks for spending the time, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.